Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. And this is going to be an interesting video today. I'm going to name it The Doctors. That's a big part of this story. And where I'm going to start is a News West 9 or the CBS 7 news article. And this is back in April 5th, 2017. Midland doctor charged with aggravated assault of a child. Okay, and then y'all can look this up, and he's 45 years old. Is arrested on aggravated sexual assault of a child. Let's see what else is here. It says the person who reported the incident gave police a letter allegedly written by Wimpy, which stated that he was sorry for the incident. And that was in there. According to the Texas Medical Board, he was practicing with a full medical license since 2004. He's listed as a diagnostic radiologist. Okay, now he had never come up on my radar. He wasn't on the medical reports for the crimes against me when I was ambushed and shot during the murder attempt. But I saw this in the news. I saw this news story, and I just started Googling information for him to see if he was had any connection back to the doctors that where I'd proven had faked my x-rays and all that, and I actually did find something, and what I found here was it was in the white pages here, and like I said, you could just Google it, and of course the white pages, there it was. There was the doctor, and it gave me the address of where his listed business address was on Roseland Redfern, and then white pages here, and had another page that said people also at this same address. Okay, at this same address, and when I clicked on it, I have another print screen, and it showed my ER doctor and Dr. Hinton as at the same address as this doctor. Okay, so I assume that they're all friends because they're all doctors, work out of the same office, and that's where it got really interesting, is because that's where I do have evidence, and that's what this story is about. And so I posted a Facebook post yesterday, and it's called it's long, but what we're going to do here, it's called The Doctors. Okay, but I broke that down in paragraphs, and then each paragraph's backed up with some kind of piece of evidence or whatever, picture to tell the story, and that's what's at the bottom in the comments. And so I'm not going to read all that at the top. I'm just going to go paragraph by paragraph. But anyway, that's where I shared the story of Dr. Wimpy. Okay, and you can see you have almost 18 comments here. Okay, starting first, my first comment, and this is a very important one. A couple of weeks before I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with my phone lines cut, the ex-wife came home from work real upset, and she whispered in my ear with 100% sincerity, the secret is that a group of doctors are killing people for profit. She was dead serious. What she didn't tell me was that her brother-in-law was a doctor, and come to find out, he was my ER doctor on the night of the murder attempt. I have no proof of her telling me this about the serial killing doctors, but it should be clear by now that my word is rock solid. I was the guy that was reporting people in the attic before I found homeowners all over Midland, Odessa, and many other states reporting people in the attic. As seen here, I testified under oath, and that was on December 18, 2013, at the protective order hearing about being told this secret. Okay, so this is the transcript from that protective order hearing. Remember, the ex-wife who lived 100 miles away, I hadn't seen her, talked to in a year and a half, files this just bizarre protective order on me. I hadn't even seen her, talk to her. There was 2 emails, non-threatening emails, sent in a year and a half. And then the evidence come in. I submitted evidence where her boyfriend was saying that she was involved in the murder. He believed she was involved in the murder attempt, and that she threatened to have him killed too. And then somehow this judge gives me a lifetime protective order, took away my right to own guns for life, over a protective order where I wasn't charged with a crime, and over a person that's alleged to be in the murder attempt lived over 100 miles away in Lubbock. So there's the cause number and everything. And so that's verifiable evidence. But within this testimony, okay, and I'm speaking here, okay, under oath, and I'm saying she said, the ex, the secret is that a group of doctors are killing people for profit, Well, what she never said the entire time we was married, that her brother-in-law was a doctor. And I think that's huge in itself, because I wonder how many, this was ignored in court, and now I wonder how many more people they went on them to murder these serial killing doctors. Now, I'm not saying her brother-in-law was part of that group, but maybe he knows somebody that was, because what we do know is that x-rays were falsified, medical records were falsified, I have there's things I have proof on, and I think that could lead us back to these doctors that kill them for profit. That's what the ex-wife had told me, and I believe that to be true. And there was a lot of profit if I died. And also I want to say here, I found out about her brother-in-law being the doctor from her, and that was after I had been ambushed and shot, and I kind of felt like she felt guilty about it. She come over to my house right after I got out of the hospital. I was on crutches. We were looking at the medical records. She's a nurse, okay, and she's the one that points out to me on the medical records that the ER doctor was her brother-in-law. That's when I found out. And so, I think she might have some information on this too, but I just wanted to show you that proof that I had testified under oath about being told this secret, which I think is real important to everybody because we all share doctors, right? I was the guy who said that somebody in my home shot me before I found proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, and documented multiple people saying that tunnels and underground homes are here. I'm not going to go over all that tons of evidence that I post all the time and make videos, post on Facebook, but just one piece of it, there wasn't no empty shotgun shell. Well, if I was shot with my gun, then there would be an empty shotgun shell in my gun. And that gun was picked up by Marty Barrett, at my home. And he's the one checked in the live shells, but he didn't check in empty shells, And that's what I'm saying here. It was handwritten in the evidence logs about 2 years later after I made a point of being no empty shotgun shell. But it wasn't written in by Marty Barrett that picked up my gun and checked in the live shotgun shells. And what I'm saying is that empty shotgun shell, if I had been shot myself, which I wasn't, the evidence is clear about that, and, would have been in that gun, and Marty Barrett would have checked it in along with the live shotgun shells, and that didn't happen. That was just one of many proofs showing I wasn't shot by my gun, and that is extremely important because that means somebody came to my home and shot me, and that, that's scary criminals like Charles Manson. They're breaking in homes and murdering innocent people. That's exactly what's going on here. I was the guy who said that secret police were seen covering up this murder attempt before I saved up disability money under the threat of death and offered a reward to have them identified, and that's where I got out of the hospital. I found these pictures of these police on my cameras, ordered the police report, didn't get a police report showing any police here. Well, maybe they wasn't police. Maybe they're just criminals dressed up like police, And I sent these pictures to the mayor and the chief of police and the city council, and they didn't, they ignored it. They ignored it as secret police, first known secret police since Nazi Germany. This is highly illegal, and that's what forced me to offer a reward, $2,000, all while living under the threat of death and people trying to terrorize me into selling my home and moving. And then 6 years later, Empire Private Investigations identifies all 11 of them. It was amazing. Rosie Rodriguez and April Chandler, come to find out Rosie was the lifelong friends of the ex-wife that had taken my life insurance books and is alleged to be involved in the shooting. Tony Dickey was inside my house at 11:05 per the police report, which I've only got 7 years later, okay? And that police report I got 7 years later showed me that 6 of these officers that were seen on camera covering up a capital murder attempt didn't even have their name listed on the report. Now you know why they hid it from us, okay? 5 of them officers was Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, and Angel and Hale, and they're time-stamped as being at or inside my home, and they're not seen arriving on the cameras that saw these two, Woodward and Naylor. And the first one showed up was a sheriff from a whole different county, and then the second one was Mike Naylor, and he's no longer alive. He dies in the line of duty. Another one inside my house, Chad Simpson, he was a cop that murdered his wife, killed himself 2 months after Naylor died. Now you have 2 secret police and a policeman's wife dead, all connected to the murder attempt of my life, believed to be connected to the murder of a little girl at an oil show party, the murder of the last homeowner, and who knows how many more murders, especially when we count these doctors that are killing for profit. Okay. Next. In 2017, I told Texas Ranger Strain that I believe these doctors killing for profit is the biggest crime of them all, because she didn't say they were just killing me for profit. And I believe these very smart and wealthy doctors have the ability to cover up their murders. Okay. Ranger Strain asked me, how could doctors make money killing people for profit? I suggested that he ask the ex-wife that question, and I reminded him of the recording of her admitting to trying to extort around $1,800 a month from me over the crimes at this house. She said that if I didn't pay, then she was going to tell everybody that I was crazy, and I didn't pay, and that's what she did. I was thinking that he used her admission to this felony as leverage, as Ranger Strain, could say, hey, we got you, for felony extortion. You're going to prison. Now tell us about them doctors that are killing for profit, But I can't speak for Ranger Strain to say why he didn't do that, and I really don't think he's so stupid he don't know that he can't figure out the truth here. My word's rock solid, and then it's backed up with all this evidence. So anyway, this is the emails from me and the Texas Ranger, April 4th, 2017. And I'm speaking, but I believe the biggest crime of all is these doctors, okay? Rangers Jeffrey Strain says, how would a doctor make money killing people? And I said, I don't know, why don't you ask the person that told me that? And my best guess is these doctors are involved in this human trafficking ring connected with the underground homes here, the $1 million underground homes, right? And I have a video on her admitting to the extortion called Follow the Money. Okay. And here we go. I reminded him of the recording of her admitting to trying to extort around $1,800 a month from me over the crimes at this house. She said that if I didn't pay, then she was going to tell everybody that I was crazy. I was thinking that he could use her admission to this felony as leverage to talk to her about the serial killing doctors. Okay. And so here, this is transcript from this recording that me and the ex-wife made in September 2011, 4 months before the murder attempt. And I'm speaking, and I'm reminding her, just like what you said, you're going to pay me $1,800, $1,200 a month. I'm going to lie about everything that I seen and tell everybody that you're crazy. And she replies, I made a mistake. She didn't deny it. She said, I didn't. So she didn't say, I didn't try to, I didn't try to extort $1,800 a month from you over that threat. She said, I made a mistake. She admitted to it. She admitted to felony extortion, and I'm reminding her, you're the one that was going to make the money off the house, right? And I made a mistake. She comes back and says, oh, Greg told me to do it. So it was Greg's fault, well, let's get Greg as a conspiracy, or as an accessory. Okay. In the court testimony, in the 22 months after the murder attempt, okay, and the ex-wife and her childhood grade school friend, Rosa Rodriguez, the one that closed my case, that tampered with evidence, lied on police reports, etc. She's testifying in here. They both testified that I was delusional in court. Okay. Now keep in mind, the ex-wife had said if I didn't pay her, she's going to tell everybody I was crazy 4 months before the murder attempt. And then here we are 22 months after the murder attempt. She's going into court and she's carrying out the extortion threat. And she got her grade school buddy with her here. She went to elementary school with Rosa Rodriguez. They're both perjuring themselves, and all because I didn't pay the money, right? And really what I think what it is because they're covering up this premeditated home invasion, capital attempted murder. That's what the real truth is. If my murder had been ruled an accident, as it was made to appear, then she was going to get a very special and paid for home with $1 million 3-bedroom home buried in the backyard, 25 foot deep, and assets totaling around $650,000 instead of getting nothing from a divorce and a 3-month marriage, which was ending under allegations that she was working with a prostitution ring. Okay. And we'd only been married 3 months. She took my life insurance books when we separated less than a month before I'm shot. See, it shows accident insurance plan. Okay. And it showed basic accidental death and supplemental accidental death. Basically, if her friend, Rosie Rodriguez, her friend from grade school, elementary school, would rule my murder an accident, it would give 2 times annual base pay plus $250,000. So there was around an extra $500,000 if her grade school buddy that lied with her in court, that perjured herself in court, would rule my murder an accident. And her grade school buddy, Rosie Rodriguez, ruled this failed murder an accident. Okay. The medical records showed that this ER doctor, my brother-in-law that I didn't know about, ordered 3 x-rays at 11:37, but then a still secret lab tech named User in Interface canceled his orders and reordered 2 x-rays. This lab tech then returned x-rays that were time-stamped at 11:27, 10 minutes before they were originally ordered. Obviously, user in interface was already taking my x-rays, was faking my x-rays before they had been ordered, but he didn't have enough of them, and that is why he had to cancel the order for 3 x-rays and reorder 2, okay? And so this was just one of the proofs that I found showing that my x-rays were faked. And why did they fake my x-rays? Because I wasn't shot with my gun. They were trying to call a failed murder an accident. That's why they were faking them, okay? And they were trying to say that I shot with it, make it appear that I shot with a shotgun when that didn't happen, okay? And so this is just from the medical records, the ER report, Midland Memorial Hospital, ER doctor orders 3 x-rays, and that's what I just said at 11:37, canceled by user in interface. So one thing we know, user in interface has a security level at least to be able to cancel a doctor's orders, because they did. They canceled the doctor's orders for 3 x-rays and said, oh, I don't got enough of them. Let's reorder 2 x-rays, And so they reordered x-rays at 11:41, and then they returned these x-rays that are timestamped 10 minutes before they were ordered, okay? That's how that was one of the proofs that I found showing that my x-rays were fake. But what the whole thing is it's real easy to see user in interface is the one that faked the x-rays, but nobody will identify him. So how do you arrest somebody that's hiding under the name user in interface for these crimes, right? One of those x-rays was a foot full of pellets, and it showed the heel bone missing when my heel bone wasn't missing at the time. The ER doctor stated that I had a through and through gunshot wound that appears to have come from a shotgun. I saw my foot and it was 2 small holes, so I knew that my heel bone wasn't gone before surgery, okay? And that's what was the second proof here. But, I wanted to make a point of what the ER doctor wrote. He's talking about all these pellets in there, and he says, it appears to come from a shotgun. He didn't say, he has a shotgun, because he didn't make the assumption it was shotgun. He just somehow knew that I was shot with a gun to make it appear that I was shot with a shotgun when I didn't have that. Interesting words, it said. And basically, this is where I broke my toe 4 months before the murder attempt, and I had x-rays taken in September 2011. And I just want to show you what the heel bone looks like. See how big it comes back, the calcaneus bone? Well, it's gone. It's not here. The calcaneus bone is missing in this x-ray right here, okay? And then, it's just gone. You can see the back of the foot here, right here. And so when I got to the hospital, just like the ER doctor said, my brother-in-law, I had 2 small holes in my foot. I had a through and through gunshot wound that appears to come from a shotgun. Now it's believed I shot with a special bullet, a plastic tip, pellet-filled bullet from a .45 handgun to make it appear that I shot with a shotgun. Because see, the problem was there wasn't enough physical room for me to be shot with a 4-foot-long shotgun, as they were trying to say it had happened. The difference is it changes a home invasion murder attempt to an accident. That's a difference. And remember, calling my murder an accident added $500,000. Okay? Evidence has since been found which seems to show that I was shot with a .45 handgun loaded with a special plastic tip pellet-filled bullet called a Glazer's safety slug, which would make it appear that I'd been shot with my shotgun. It's now proven that I wasn't shot with my gun, okay? And we know that in several different ways. The size of pellets removed from my foot were 2.5 sizes different than what were in my gun, okay? So ballistic evidence, that's like the guy with the .22 in him wasn't shot by the guy holding the .45 gun, that ballistic type of evidence proves cases every day in court. I was not shot with a gun. There's one of the proofs. Remember, the shotgun shell was missing too. Don't forget that. No empty shotgun shell was checked into evidence. The other thing here, the surgeon said he removed a large amount of plastic from the wound. Okay, you wouldn't have a large amount of plastic in the wound of a shotgun if I shot with the shell, which I wasn't, okay? There is a piece of plastic in here, but it's a one-piece cup that follows the pellets in, and it's at the front of the wound. It was removed by the ER doctor, according to the report, okay? But this is a plastic tip, pellet-filled bullet. What that does is multiple things. One, the pellets in it fit the size that the lab says was removed from my foot. Two, it fits the space limitations because there wasn't enough room in that little bitty room for me to be shot with a 4-foot long shotgun. And then it explains why the doctor or the surgeon said he removed a lot of plastic. It's a plastic tip, pellet-filled bullet. And then Lisa Rogers told me I was shot with a .45 handgun. This special ammunition can be bought for a .45 handgun. So it looks like they went and bought special ammunition to make it appear, there's that word again, the word that the ER doctor used, appear to look like I was shot with a shotgun when that didn't happen. And why? Because because then they could rule this failed murder and accident and get an extra $500,000. That's why. Okay. They had taken the foot of somebody else that had been shot with a shotgun and put my name on them, and this other guy was missing his heel bone. This was another proof of faked x-rays. So whose foot was in the faked x-rays? So that's what they did, and I even show you that evidence here in a minute. They took the x-rays of somebody else. They've been shot with a shotgun, put my name on them, okay? And this guy was missing his heel bone, so they took me into surgery and they cut my heel bone off. I was intentionally maimed, mutilated, and dismembered to cover up this failed for-profit murder. It was going to make the sister-in-law, the ER doctor, rich, okay? 4 months later, I would have more x-rays ordered, and a report was made by a radiologist named Dr. Hinton, who stated that he compared x-rays I'd taken on January 17th to others I'd taken on January 19th. The problem was that I'd been shot 11 days later on January 28th, 2012. This couldn't be a typo since it was 2 dates, not just one date. And that is what told me another person was shot in the same foot with a shotgun 2 weeks before I was shot, and I suspect it was his foot in the faked x-rays, okay? And I'm going to show you this radiological report that's dated in April. This is a few months after the murder attempt, and it's from Dr. Hinton, gunshot wound injury date, 1/17/12. Keep in mind, I was shot on the 28th, okay? And then they compared x-rays to others taken on the 19th. So somebody was shot on the 17th, 11 days before me, and then they had a second set of x-rays, and that's what Dr. Hinton looked at and was calling my x-rays. I'm suspecting that it was this guy's foot in them faked x-rays because he was shot 11 days before me. And even more, and we're going to get into that in a minute, maybe that gave them doctors an idea how to kill me and call it an accident. Okay. I will later see that Dr. Hinton charged my insurance company for those faked x-rays on the night of the murder attempt, but his name was nowhere to be found on the emergency room report. Maybe Dr. Hinton was logged in as user in interface, and he was the guy who took the x-rays of the guy that was shot on the 17th and put my name on them. Okay, you see that? What I'm saying is Dr. Hinton was never on my radar because his name wasn't on the reports. Okay, but I did have a user in interface that I didn't know who it was, and I knew he was a lab tech for radiology. And so here I later find this, several years later, I find this EOB, explanation of benefits from my insurance company. And Dr. Hinton right there charged my insurance company for $76 on January 28, 2012. That's when I proved them x-rays were faked. Well, Dr. Hinton's name wasn't on the medical records nowhere, but there is a user in interface. So now you know why I'm wondering if user in interface, who we believe is the one that faked the x-rays, was Dr. Hinton. And as I showed you at the beginning of this, Dr. Hinton, it looked like, was in the same office as my ER doctor, like they were long friends or whatever, okay? Along with Dr. Wimpy, who was charged with child sex crimes. I even wondered if this other guy getting shot gave the serial killing doctors an idea how to kill me and call it an accident. Maybe my brother-in-law knew about the accidental death policy, the ER doctor, and I had, which added $500,000 to the benefit, since my ex-wife, his sister-in-law, had taken my life insurance books from my home when we separated a few weeks earlier. That's what I was saying, that the ex-wife from this 3-month marriage had taken them life insurance books from my home, and it showed that if my murder was ruled an accident, then it'd add $500,000. Come to find out, her brother-in-law was the ER doctor, and let's don't forget that she's the one that told me. She seemed upset, after I was shot and crippled for life, that this happened, and I can't explain that. I'm just telling you that she seemed upset. And she's the one that told me her brother-in-law was my doctor, and she's the one that gave me hints that these medical records were faked. That's when I started looking after them. Thanks to the ex-wife is why I figured out they faked my x-rays. In 2017, the news reported that another radiologist named Dr. Wimpy was arrested for sex crimes against children. I Googled his name, and to my surprise, I saw that he shared an office with the ER doctor, my brother-in-law, and Dr. Hinton. They must all be friends, okay? And I've gone over that. And so my next comment here, this gets real interesting. I was later doing research on the past owners of my home and the others in my small cul-de-sac of 9 homes, and I saw that a company named Tabor Construction built them in the 80s. This company, which is no longer in business, had a business address of 3217 Mark Lane. I Googled that. On a whim, I decided to look up the past owners of that home on Mark Lane, and to my surprise, I see where my ER doctor, the brother-in-law, that I didn't know about, used to own that same home. I wondered if my ER doctor knew the builders of my home and or if he knew about the secret underground homes too. And, that's what I'm suspecting here, okay? And so I'm going to show you, I just Googled this, Tabor Construction, found it on Google. There was their business address, and it was a forfeited existence, inactive date 2002. One thing I thought was interesting, one of their vice presidents was Aaron Geibel. He died on the famous Clayton Williams 1990 Valentine's Day plane crash that killed 5 executives when Clayton Williams was running for governor of Texas. He was a vice president for the company that built my home, And also died on that same plane crash was Randy Kidwell. He was the first husband of Suzanne Conaway, the wife of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway, and her brother used to live across the street from my house. And 3809 Fair Circle, okay? So this is the address on 327 Mark Lane. I just go to right here at midcad.org, the Midland County Appraisal District, and I look up the deed history, and to my surprise, I see where my emergency room doctor, okay, and who was the brother-in-law I didn't know about and was there when the x-rays were faked, used to own the same home that Tabor Construction had. Okay, ain't that interesting? So I'm wondering, what if they knew about it in advance? What if this ER doctor knew all the time that I was shot from by somebody under my home, right? Just a few months ago, a guy named Jordan Soda comments on my YouTube channel about a hidden tunnel entrance in a home at 2011 Bedford, Midland, Texas. He said this tunnel went a few miles toward my home, and there were beds, chairs, tables, dressers, and belongings underground. Okay. I have a print screen of that. I didn't add it in here. Should have put it in there, but that's exactly what he said. And I have the print screen of Jordan Sosa telling me that. So once again, I go to the Midland Central Appraisal District, and I look up the address that he gave me where this tunnel entrance was that goes underground with all the beds and the underground home, all that. Okay, and to my surprise, what I see here is my kidney doctor, when I was ambushed and shot, used to own that home, Dr. Newsom there. He's no longer my kidney doctor, but all I know is that he used to own this home here that Jordan Sosa said had a tunnel entrance that comes several miles towards my house, and I just thought that was interesting, and I just throw that out there for investigators to follow up on the leads, because the ex-wife told me with 100% sincerity there's a group of doctors killing people for profit, and maybe it has to do with these tunnels and the rig in the homes and coming from under a home. Being shot from point blank range directly in an artery by somebody under my home with a special bullet to make it appear that I was shot with a shotgun was planned by some very smart killers, and nobody would suspect that somebody under my home had shot me. They could use the x-rays of the guy that was shot 11 days before me too. It was the perfect murder, and it was going to be very profitable. Besides that, I was a problem since I was calling the police and tear gas in the attic. It would expose the $1 million underground homes that are here and the many other homes rigged like mine. And then all the other suspected murders, the murder of the little girl at the oil show party, the murder of the previous homeowner. And the last homeowner of my home, young homeowner Mike Lawn, died from an overdose of Darvocet in 2 different towns. Okay, and that's what I'm showing you here. I come back and I go, wonder if these doctors were involved in the death of Mike Lawn, because he dies of this, acute propoxyphene intoxication. What that was Darvocet. Ain't that bizarre? What's even more bizarre is that they've got him, listed in 2 different towns. Officially, his death certificate says he died in Fort Worth at his mom's house, his late mom's house now. Okay, and But the newspaper here, they posted one death notice. Our Odessa American said he died in Fort Worth, and 4 days later posted a second death notice and said he died at his residence. And then that confirmed what a former neighbor, Marilyn Delugy, told me twice, that he died in this house. And she also said somebody else died here before him. Then another guy, Aaron Packelhofer, asked me if I knew the names of the 4 people that had been murdered, died in this house. So then the question is, I wonder if these doctors, would know anything about acute propoxyphene intoxication, murder, okay, or death. As normal, I'm not making accusations, but just stating facts and asking questions. Doctors that are killing for profit are a danger to all of us because we all share health services. We give them a lot of trust without questioning them. Be honest and ask yourself, would you ever dream that a doctor had faked your x-rays? Of course not. They could make a killing just doing that, and I have undeniable proof that it happened. I sent this evidence to the Texas Medical Board, and they told me to be patient. That was in 2015. That is just the absurd amount of lawlessness that's going on. Here it is in October 2015. Dear Ms. Webb, your communications has been submitted to the Enforcement Support Department of the Texas Medical Board. Okay, and please be patient as you will receive a response from the enforcement support. Your communication upon completion of the initial review, and that's the last I've ever heard from them. Texas Medical Board. And so here's this undeniable proof. And somebody should be questioning them what happened there, and because it's putting your life in danger. I thought y'all would find that interesting. Buddy, we have Midland, Texas.